everybody. Welcome back to Finnish Firearms and History. I'm your host, Matt DeRizio, author of Finnish Mosin-Nagant 3-line rifle to Ukko Pekka, the first comprehensive English language source on Finnish firearms. And today I'm going to take you through some Finnish M39 stock variations. So going from the top to bottom, we've got a really rare mystery one up there that we'll get into later. We've got a late post-war stock, an early post-war stock, a wartime stock, and we've got a wartime straight stock. And I'm going to break each one of these down and more or less tell you where they should be found. So starting from the very bottom down here with the straight stock variation. The straight stock is known as a straight stock simply because there is no pistol grip. It's a modification of the M2830 stock. And when the Finns adopted the M39, they initially didn't have the tooling set up for the pistol grip style stock, and they still had the tooling set up at Sako for the M2830. So they simply adapted that and decided, well, we've got all these stock blanks on hand. We're going to go ahead and put it into production. So they made roughly 7,000 straight stocks, and you'll see them on the production from roughly the beginning, about 200,000, all the way up to about 208, 209,000. There'll be a few that sneak in after there. Sometimes you'll even see them on later VKT rifles or on the Sako SKY Civil Guard rifles. And if we look at the barrel here, we can see this one's right at the end of the range, 209, 450, and it's Pulestas Layatas marked, which is pretty neat. The next stock variety we're going to take a look at is a wartime pistol grip stock, this one being a Sako stock. Now, Sako stocks, if you look at them, I didn't do it with the straight stock, but you'll see the Sako gear wheel right here. You'll also see the S. The S is for Sakara Oi, and that was Sako's sub-manufacturer that did all their work for them. A lot of times with these wartime Sako stocks, you're just going to see this beautiful marbling and tiger striping pattern on them, and it's absolutely gorgeous on some of them. They'll go for a premium just for the stock on the rifle. This one actually isn't a wartime Sako. It's a fairly uncommon 48 marked rifle. So the stock was likely used as a repair part after the end of World War II when these rifles were made. And I'll do a special on these as a later time, but the 48 marked rifles probably deserve a nice video in their own right. Taking a closer look at the wartime stock varieties, as you'll notice here, all three of these are pistol grip stocks. All three of them are wartime stocks. However, we have three distinct different varieties. So on the bottom, you can see we've got a Sako Civil Guard S mark stock. This is going to be on the Sako Civil Guard M39 rifles. That's going to consist of a big shield with an S and the 3 pine firs in it, and they're going to be dated. You're going to have 42 and 43 dates. You'll never see a 44 date. I have yet to see one. All the 44 dated rifles have 1943 dated stocks. Then you're going to see the Sako and the gear wheel, and if you look closely, the Sako is inside the gear wheel right there, and additionally you're going to have the S within the cannons, and that's for Sakara Oi, which was Sako's subcontractor for stocks. And lastly, you'll have Lindholm up here, and that's the little L inside the cannon gear wheel. Those are predominantly found on your VKT rifles. So an original VKT with a wartime dated or a wartime correct stock is usually going to have one of those on there. Although you could have a Sako produced stock on there as well. It's a possibility. Bringing it up a little bit closer, once again, we've got the Lindholm mark here, L inside the cannons. Coming down to Sako, we have the S inside the cannons for Sakara Oi. And additionally, we have Sako, and if you look very carefully on the bottom of the gear wheel, you're going to see Riamaki. So it's Sako Riamaki, and there's supposed to be 3 firs in the top of that S, but really hard to see them. A little bit more distinct when you come down to the Civil Guard M39 stocks. The shield with the date below it, and like I said, you're going to have 42 and 43 dated examples on the stock. If you have a 1944 dated Sako Civil Guard M39, it's just going to say 43 on the stock most likely. You'll notice this one has a toe splice right there. No toe splice here, but then we see another toe splice up there. That's just there so they could use smaller pieces of wood and smaller stock blanks and still make effective stocks. You see it a lot on Japanese-era Sako rifles, but those are decidedly not my area of expertise. Coming up to our next variety, we've got the rectangular post-war slice. or the early post-war splice, as I like to call it. Now, there is a misconception with these. For the longest time, this style of splice, the rectangular splice right here, was called a late post-war splice, and the pull cue splice was known as the transitional post-war splice. I've simplified both terms in my book. We've got late post-war and early post-war. This is an early post-war stock. Part of the way I was able to determine this is when you take a look at these, a lot of these early post-war stocks saw a fair amount of usage. You can see all the dimples here in this one, where Finnish soldiers would have used it as a tool to take down their firing pins within their bolt bodies when they took them apart. You can also see some of those marks over here as well. This one is a B barrel, likely is original to the rifle based upon the rifle's construction time period when it was converted from an M91 into an M39. And I'll show you the difference real quick. So if we look at the early post-war versus the wartime, you can see how right here we have fingers, and these are rectangular, and these are rounded. Rounded is going to tell you that it's a wartime stock versus a post-war stock. Now, when we get beyond the early post-war, we get into the late post-war. Late post-war has what I call the pull cue splice. So we take a look right here. Looks like a pull cue splice, but really it's a late post-war stock. You're only going to find these for rifles that were rebuilt or put into storage in the late 1970s. For example, this is a Remington M39. Once again, this one probably deserves its whole own video at this point, but we'll have to do that at a later time. And the Remington M39s, of which there are 3 known, were converted by Finnish arsenals in the late 1970s. Somewhat of an experiment to just say, hey, can we make usable M39s out of these? And last but not least, we've got our oddball. Now, I wouldn't consider this a standard variety in the slightest. This is a single-piece walnut stock for target shooters. These were an aftermarket stock that could be bought by Finns in the 1950s and the 1960s. A lot of times you're going to see them on M2857 rifles. This one is on an M39 civilian sales, a Sako Riamaki. And with these, the biggest thing is it's a lot lighter. You can feel the lightness when you handle this, and there's no splice on it. So no splice, lighter stock for target shooter. It would have never seen military service, but it's an interesting variety to put there. I love bringing it out when people tell me, oh, all M39 stocks were spliced. Well, not technically. Not all of them. Now, granted, the average person's never going to see one of these. So, well, we could get into some of the more esoteric sub-variants if we wanted to, but I think that's probably a good place to stop, and I think we'll wrap it up right there. I hope that everyone enjoyed this deep dive into M39 stock variations. There's more variety within the M39, more so than any other Finnish Mosin-Nagant out there, and quite frankly, it's my favorite subset of Finnish Mosin-Nagant collecting to delve into. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought of the video, if there's anything else that you'd like me to cover, and if there's any of the specific rifles that were seen in the video, if you want to see an entire sub-video on them. I know some people are probably wondering more about 48 marked M39s. Of course, we've got no maker, no dates, miscellaneous M91 conversions, B-barrel M91 conversions, Tikakoski M91 conversions, VKT M91 conversions, in addition to your more garden varieties such as VKT, Sako, and your Sako Civil Guard Soilus Skunta rifles. And that's not even getting into sniper rifles and other variants. So, yeah. A lot to learn out there. I'm going to have some fun making some more videos on these. Until then, I will see everybody in another video.